Now the next one says, Om Ahom Vajra Guru Padmasambhava could subdue all the Maras. With Om Ahom, you can subdue the gods, spirits, and human beings. Sometimes human beings could transform into Mara and female Maras and so on. Sometimes within the God realm, the celestial beings could turn into Maras as well. Through Om Ahom, one would be able to subdue the gods, spirits, and human beings. Vajra conquers the Gandharvas and the fire spirits. When we have fire of houses or forests and so on, those are because that we had irritated the fire gods, fire spirits. Now, maybe because of the global warming, the fire spirits could come up at any times, could be irritated at any times. On one hand, we should chant the Vajra Guru Padmasambhava. On the other hand, we should be very cautious and vigilant with our own behavior and activities as well, especially within the Shudra. We need to be extra careful. Our structures and our residence, I hope that you can be very careful. On one hand, we do need to chant the Vajra Guru Padmasambhava, the mantra, but on the other, simply only rely on the mantra, but not caring about all kinds of possible conditions that could induce fire is definitely not workable either. Of course, there are great qualities and benefits to the mantra, but we have to be careful of our actions as well. Now we have some of the houses, we need to be careful of the things that is easy to get burnt, especially when it's a public building. The other day I went to a monastery and I noticed that all the fire routes were closed. So I scolded the management and I said that if all these fire routes are closed, what if fire were to blaze over here, then all of the public buildings would be burnt. It would be very dangerous. This time, the wildfire in Hawaii forced people to even jump into Pacific Ocean in order to run away from fire. And some people stood in the Pacific Ocean and look at their houses burned down to ashes. When we look at the scenes like that, we ourselves, if we can put ourselves into the shoes of the other person who's suffering from it, we can feel the pain. So learning from that, from their experiences, we need to be very careful with fire. In the past, with the blessings of the three jewels, nothing too drastic happened over here. But I really hope that all of the female practitioners, especially around the female practitioners' districts, you need to be extra careful as the houses are quite dense. The residents are very dense over here. You need to pay attention, and if a fire were to blaze at mid of the night, do you know a route to escape? You need to think about that. The fire spirits can be irritated very easily. Sometimes when we burn something, and sometimes when we did something inappropriate, those spirits can be irritated right away. When we had some fire incidents in the Shudra previously, some of those fires happened out of very strange reasons, really. When I was in school, I just remember this story. When I was in school, I believe there was once that our dorm room was on fire, and then the president came to me and scolded me for it and saying that, why didn't you pay attention? I said I was being very, very vigilant about this, but I think it must be some irritation and and some furious fire spirits that made the fire to happen. And then the president was even more upset with me because I was speaking something that is considered as superstitious back then. It was indeed my fault because I was reading with candlelight. But the fire, after the fire was put out, one of my best, in fact, my best clothes, my best jacket was burnt. That was my only coat I really liked. Anyhow, now the next one is Om Benza Guru Padmasambhava. Now Om Ahom, with the Guru, the syllable Guru conquers the Lord of Death and demonic spirits, and Pema conquers the harmful water gods and spirits who reign over the mind. Siddhi conquers the powerful demons who haunt mountain ranges and passes. Now, in terms of the siddhi, sometimes it is stated as yakshas, and some of the versions says that it says that to subdue Ishvaras, and some versions says that it is to conquer the powers of the spirits of earth or the local earth deities. Home conquers the planetary demons and gods of localities. Now, planetary unfavored planetary movements or different kinds of not fitting with those movements, it could happen as well. On one hand, I think it's important for those atheists to recognize that the spirits and maras, they do exist. I've encountered some atheists. At the beginning, they were firm atheists. They don't believe in spirits and ghosts and so on at all. But later, maybe because of their own illness and maybe because of various experiences, or even in dreams or even in their illusions, they finally recognized it. In Tibet, we say that wherever you would go, especially when it's a dangerous place, and consider somewhere that's dangerous where people had died around that particular area, then we would chant the Benza Guru Padmasambhava, the Vajra mantra. Not only in Tibet, back in 2020, a few years ago in Foxconn, the factory that manufactures iPhones and so on, in that factory, 13 people committed suicide from jumping off the building, and they all jump off the same building at the same location. So for those kinds of incidents with lots of coincidence, we can say we don't really see things that is happening. We only see things that has happened. For example, there were drivers that would, or the car drivers that would have car accidents at the same place every single time. Or I remember that there was a TV interview interviewed by a Chinese host called Zhou Wentao, and there was this particular case that he interviewed for a female policewoman said that when they were investigating on a particular murdering case, and homicide case, and then they had no clue except until someone had a dream about had a dream of the victim, and the victim was telling them, "Oh, my body is here, and who killed me," and so on and so forth. And then they finally recognized that there are some incidents that cannot be explained. Not only through those homicide cases, there are different stories I've heard from doctors, from the prison guards, many of which truly points out that ghosts and spirits are definitely existent. As practitioners, sometimes we encounter maras in our dreams, or sometimes in terms of our body, we don't feel good, or we don't have a good mood, or we just simply can't practice anymore. Usually it is because of the disturbance of maras. At that time, when you encounter those kinds of obstacles, you should try your very best to chant the mantras of Padmasambhava, and right away that would work just as how the sun breaks out from the dark clouds. This is the qualities and benefits of the Vajra Guru Mantra, because this is a mantra that subdues maras. In the past, when I was little, after I finished school and would go home, usually it would be quite dark. I have to go through a small forest that has a very small road, and I've heard that many people died over there. On one hand, I felt really scared, especially when there are some little sizzling sounds of the mice and so on. I would get really scared, and I would chant the Vajra Guru Mantra. I definitely feel the blessings from it. Maybe it is because of my family, maybe because of my faith. Whatever kinds of obstacles, and whenever I encounter them, I would right away remember to supplicate to Padmasambhava, especially when it comes to purifying or to overcome the obstacles. I would either chant the Pema Guru Padmasambhava, or I would chant the Tara mantra. The different mantras has different effects, just as different medicine has different functions. Now, Om Mahom Benza Guru Padmasambhava Hom, by Om Mahom, the 6 transcendent perfections are accomplished. By Vajra, all peaceful activities are accomplished. That is to pacify all the peaceful activities, to pacify all the, for example, the maras of illness, of obstacles, and so on. And then by Guru, all enriching activities are accomplished. And if you feel rather quite weak, and you want to have more energy and all power, then you should chant Om Mahom Benza Guru Padmasambhava. Lots of the abroad centers, they have a different way of chanting the mantra. Sometimes it could be rather wrathful, sometimes quite peaceful and very, very graceful, and some sounds rather very much like the water streams. And pema is to accomplish all kinds of magnetizing activities, to be free from the controls of human and non-human beings. Siddhi is all enlightened activities are accomplished, and by Hom, all wrathful activities are accomplished.